There's a reason seasoned detectives can extract confessions in under an hour. They've mastered 17 psychological pressure points that your conscious mind cannot resist. These aren't tricks. They're weapons, refined over decades in rooms designed to break the human spirit. And here's what keeps me awake at night. The same tactics used to catch killers? They're being used on you, every single day, by people you trust. In the next 35 minutes, I'm handing you the Interrogator's playbook. Not so you can manipulate others, but so you'll never be broken again. Let's begin. Welcome back. If you're new here, this channel explores the darkest corners of human psychology. Not for entertainment, for survival. What I'm about to share comes from 3 primary sources. The READ technique, used by law enforcement worldwide. The behavioral analysis program developed by the FBI. And over 40 years of documented interrogations that turned suspects into confessors. But here's the truth they don't advertise in those training manuals. These 17 mind games, they don't just work in interrogation rooms. They work in boardrooms, in relationships, in sales calls, in casual conversations where someone wants something from you. The methodology is identical. The principles are universal. And most people have zero defense against them. Today, you're going to understand exactly how professional interrogators dismantle psychological resistance. We'll go through all 17 tactics in order of increasing intensity. For each one, I'll show you the concept, the real-world application, the warning signs, and most importantly, how to protect yourself. This isn't theory. This is survival intelligence. And by the end, you'll never walk into a conversation the same way again. Pushpin the concept. Before a single word is spoken, the interrogator has already won. How? By controlling the space. Professional interrogators design rooms with one purpose: to make you feel small, exposed, and powerless. The suspect's chair is lower. The interrogator's chair is higher. The distance between you is calculated to invade your personal boundary without being obvious about it. This is spatial dominance. And it triggers a primal response in your nervous system that bypasses logic entirely. Your body feels subordinate before your mind realizes what's happening. Magnifying glass tilted left the reality. You've experienced this. Ever sat in a job interview where the desk felt impossibly wide? Where the interviewer's chair seemed just slightly elevated? That wasn't an accident. Or think about the last difficult conversation you had with a boss. Where did it happen? Their office, their territory, their furniture, their rules. One case study I return to constantly. A homicide detective in Chicago would deliberately place suspects in a chair with one leg slightly shorter than the others. Nothing dramatic, just enough to create physical instability. Why? Because when your body is slightly off balance, your mind becomes easier to unbalance too. Warning, the warning signs. Watch for environments where you feel inexplicably uncomfortable. If someone insists on meeting in their space on their terms with their seating arrangements, that's a red flag. Notice the furniture. Notice the distance. Notice your own physical comfort level. If you feel small, trapped, or unable to move freely, someone designed it that way. Shield the defense. Simple. Control the space or neutralize it. If you can, suggest neutral territory. Coffee shops, parks, anywhere that isn't owned by either party. If you must enter their territory, rearrange the space. Move your chair. Stand if they sit. Sit if they insist you stand. And here's the power move. Acknowledge it directly. This chair feels low. Mind if I grab another one? Watch how quickly they reveal their hand. The moment you demonstrate spatial awareness, you've neutralized their first weapon. Pushpin the concept. Interrogators never ask if you did something. They ask why you did it. This is the presumption of guilt, and it's devastatingly effective because it skips over the most important question, your actual innocence, and forces you into a defensive position from sentence 1. Why did you take the money? Assumes you took it. What made you so angry that night? Assumes you were angry. Notice the trap? You're no longer defending whether you did something. You're defending your reasons for doing it. And once you start explaining reasons, you've already lost. Magnifying glass tilted left the reality. This happens constantly outside interrogation rooms. Why are you always late? Assumes you're always late. What made you ignore my message? Assumes you ignored it intentionally. In one documented case, a suspect was questioned about a robbery. The detective never asked, "Did you rob the store?" Instead, he asked, "Was it the money or the adrenaline that made you do it?" The suspect spent 30 minutes explaining it wasn't about money, and in doing so, confessed to the crime. That's the power of presumption. Warning, the warning signs. Listen for questions that skip over the fundamental yes or no. If someone phrases accusations as established facts, they're using interrogation tactics on you. Why did you? Instead of, did you? What made you? Instead of, were you? Shield the defense. Reject the premise. Stop. Reframe. Reset. I didn't take the money, so I can't tell you why I did. I wasn't angry that night. You're starting from a false assumption. Never let someone else define your reality. The moment you accept their premise, you're fighting on their battlefield. And on their battlefield, they've already positioned all the mines. Pushpin the concept. Time pressure destroys rational thinking. Interrogators know this, so they create artificial deadlines to force rapid decisions. We need to resolve this now. The offer expires in 5 minutes. If you don't talk to me today, I can't help you tomorrow. This is manufactured urgency. And it works because your brain, under time pressure, switches from analytical thinking to survival mode. You stop evaluating. You start reacting. And reactions? They're predictable. Magnifying glass tilted left the reality. Think about every high-pressure sales tactic you've encountered. This price is only good until midnight. 3 other people are looking at this property. I can only hold this job offer open until Friday. In interrogation settings, detectives will claim that cooperation right now is the only path to leniency. Wait an hour, the deal's gone. But here's the truth. Legitimate urgency is rare. Manufactured urgency is everywhere. One case from New York, a detective told a suspect that another witness was in the room next door, ready to testify, and that he had 10 minutes to get his story straight before the other witness talked. There was no witness. There was no 10 minutes. But the confession was real. Warning, the warning signs. Any conversation that insists on immediate resolution is suspect. Watch for phrases like, right now, today only, before it's too late. If someone is preventing you from thinking, sleeping on it, or consulting others, they're manipulating you. Shield the defense. Slow down. Say it out loud. I need time to think about this. Legitimate opportunities respect deliberation. Manipulative ones punish it. And here's your mantra. Anything that can't wait 24 hours probably shouldn't happen at all. The moment you reclaim time, you reclaim power. Pushpin the concept. Interrogators will claim they have evidence they don't actually possess. We already know you were there. Your fingerprints are at the scene. We have video footage. This is the illusion of evidence. And it's completely legal in most jurisdictions because interrogation allows for deception. Why does it work? Because the human mind assumes authority figures are telling the truth. And when confronted with proof, guilty or not, you begin to doubt your own reality. Magnifying glass tilted left the reality. This tactic destroys innocent people. In one famous case, a teenager confessed to a murder he didn't commit after detectives claimed they had DNA evidence, placing him at the scene. They had no such evidence. But the illusion was enough. Outside interrogation rooms, this shows up as bluffing. I've already talked to 3 people who told me what really happened. I have the emails that prove you're lying. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. But the claim puts you on the defensive. Warning, the warning signs. If someone has real evidence, they typically show it. If someone claims to have evidence but won't show it, they're bluffing. Watch for vague references. We know. We have proof. It's all documented. Ask yourself, if they really had it, why wouldn't they just present it? Shield the defense. Call the bluff. Politely. I'd like to see that evidence. Can you show me the documentation? Who specifically told you that? If they have it, they'll show it. If they don't, they'll deflect. And deflection? That's your answer. Never confess to anything based on claimed evidence you haven't personally verified. Pushpin the concept. Interrogators swing between two extremes, aggression and empathy. One detective screams at you, calls you a monster, slams the table. Then another detective enters. Softer, kinder. I understand. Let me help you. This is the emotional pendulum, also called good cop, bad cop. It works because extreme emotional shifts bypass your logical defenses. The aggression creates fear. The empathy creates relief. And in that relief, you talk. You open up to the good interrogator because compared to the bad one, they feel like a savior. But they're not. They're partners working the same goal. Magnifying glass tilted left the reality. You see this in abusive relationships constantly. Rage, then apology. Cruelty, then affection. The victim bonds with the abuser during the kind phase because the contrast feels like love. In sales, it's the manager who goes to bat for you with the difficult boss to get you a special deal. In one documented interrogation, a suspect was berated for 2 hours by a hostile detective. When a second detective offered him coffee and a cigarette, the suspect broke down crying and confessed. The coffee didn't extract the confession. The contrast did. Warning, the warning signs. Watch for extreme emotional swings in any interaction. If someone oscillates between hostile and friendly, they're intentionally destabilizing you. Pay attention to tag teaming. Two people playing opposing roles. And notice your own emotional state. If you feel relief talking to someone simply because they're nicer than another person, you're being played. Shield the defense. Recognize the pattern. When you see the pendulum, name it, even if only to yourself. This is good cop, bad cop. Both of them want the same thing from me. Don't bond with the good one. They're not your friend. They're not your advocate. Maintain emotional equilibrium regardless of how they're acting. Your consistency is their kryptonite. Pushpin the concept. I'm on your side. I'm trying to help you. You and me, we're not so different. This is false friendship, and it's one of the most insidious tactics in the interrogator's arsenal. The detective mirrors your speech patterns, shares a personal story, creates artificial commonality. Why? Because humans are hardwired to trust people who seem like us, and once you trust them, you'll tell them anything. Magnifying glass tilted left the reality. Con artists are masters of false friendship. They find out you're a veteran. Suddenly, they're a veteran too. You mention your hometown. What a coincidence, they have family there. In interrogation rooms, detectives will spend hours building rapport before ever asking a difficult question. One FBI interrogator was famous for talking about baseball for 3 hours before transitioning to the crime. The suspect never saw it coming, because by then, they weren't talking to an interrogator. They were talking to a friend. Except they weren't. Warning, the warning signs. Excessive commonality is a red flag. If someone seems to share too many of your interests, background details, or opinions, especially early in the relationship, be suspicious. Notice mirroring. Are they copying your body language, your vocabulary, your energy? And ask yourself, what does this person actually want from me? Shield the defense. Maintain boundaries. Rapport is not trust. Commonality is not connection. Just because someone seems like you doesn't mean they're for you. Keep conversations surface level until someone proves, through actions, not words, that they're trustworthy. And remember, real friends don't need to convince you they're friends. They just are. Pushpin the concept. It's not that big of a deal. Anyone would have done the same thing. You're not a bad person. You just made a mistake. This is minimization. The interrogator makes the crime seem smaller, more understandable, more forgivable. Why? Because you're more likely to confess to something that feels minor. They're not asking you to admit you're a monster. They're asking you to admit you're human. And once you admit to the small thing was actually the whole case. Magnifying glass tilted left the reality. This happens in every context where someone wants you to admit wrongdoing without feeling the full weight of it. It's just a little lie. Everyone bends the rules sometimes. You didn't mean to hurt them. In one case, A suspect was told repeatedly that stealing from his employer was totally understandable, given his financial stress. The detective called it borrowing, really? The suspect agreed, and was charged with embezzlement. The crime didn't get smaller. The confession just got easier. Warning, the warning signs. Listen for language that downplays consequences. It's not that serious. Don't beat yourself up. We all make mistakes. If someone is working hard to make you feel better about something you did wrong, ask yourself, why do they want me to admit this so badly? Shield the defense. Don't confuse empathy with minimization. Real empathy validates your feelings. Minimization validates your guilt. If someone is making it easy for you to confess or admit something, they're not being kind, they're being strategic. Before you admit anything, ask yourself, would I feel this way about it if this person wasn't in the room? Your answer will tell you everything. Pushpin the concept. Interrogators ask the same questions. Over and over and over. Tell me again what happened. Walk me through it one more time. Let's go back to the beginning. This is endless repetition, and it serves two purposes. First, it exhausts you. Your resistance crumbles under the weight of mental fatigue. Second, it catches inconsistencies. Every time you tell the story, small details change, and those changes become evidence of deception. Magnifying glass tilted left the reality. Memory is not a recording. It's a reconstruction. Every time you recall something, your brain rebuilds it, and the details shift. Interrogators know this, so they force you to retell the story until the inconsistencies pile up. Then they use those inconsistencies to prove you're lying, even when you're not. One psychological study showed that after being asked to recount an event 10 times, innocent participants began doubting their own memories. They started believing they might have done what they were accused of. That's the power of repetition. Warning, the warning signs. If someone keeps asking you to retell something, they're either looking for inconsistencies or trying to exhaust you. Notice circular conversations that never move forward. Notice when you're being asked the same question in different ways. Shield the defense. Say it once, clearly, then stop. I've already answered that question. My answer hasn't changed. If they push, recognize the tactic and hold firm. Your consistency, not your elaboration, is your shield. Pushpin the concept. Interrogators don't ask questions. They make statements. You were there that night. You took the money. You're lying to me right now. This is the accusatory statement. It's designed to provoke a response, usually a denial or an explanation. And that response? It's what they're really after. Because the way you deny something reveals more than the denial itself. Magnifying glass tilted left the reality. Innocent people and guilty people deny accusations differently. Innocent people tend to be direct. No, I didn't do that. Guilty people tend to be evasive. Why would I do something like that? Interrogators know this, so they make bold accusations to study how you react, not just what you say. In one case, a detective told a suspect, "You killed her." The suspect responded, "I would never hurt anyone." Notice the shift? He didn't deny the specific act. He denied his capacity for it. That shift became the foundation of the prosecution's case. Warning, the warning signs. Statements disguised as facts. You did X. X happened because of you. No question mark. No room for dialogue. Just accusation. Shield the defense. Respond with clarity, not emotion. That's not true. That didn't happen. Simple. Direct. Final. Don't over-explain. Don't justify. Don't defend your character. The more you say, the more material you give them to analyze. Less is more. Pushpin the concept. The interrogator asks a question, then says nothing. Seconds pass. Then minutes. The silence becomes unbearable. And you, unable to tolerate the void, fill it. This is the silence weapon. And it's brutally effective because humans are biologically uncomfortable with prolonged silence in social situations. We interpret it as disapproval, judgment, or expectation. So we talk. We ramble. We confess. Not because we're guilty, because silence feels like pressure. Magnifying glass tilted left the reality. Watch any skilled negotiator. They use silence constantly. After making an offer, they stop talking. The other person, uncomfortable, starts negotiating against themselves. In interrogations, detectives will sit across from a suspect for 10, 15, 20 minutes without saying a word. Eventually, the suspect breaks. "What do you want me to say?" "I'll tell you whatever you want to know." The silence didn't extract information. It extracted surrender. Warning, the warning signs. Long pauses after you speak. Staring without responding. Waiting for you to fill the gap. Shield the defense. Get comfortable with silence. Practice it. Sit in it. Own it. If someone uses silence as a weapon, use it right back. The first person to speak doesn't lose. But the first person to crack? They do. Pushpin the concept. Did you plan this? Or was it spontaneous? Did you keep the money? Or did you spend it? Were you angry? Or just scared? This is the alternative question. It offers two choices, both of which assume guilt. Notice the trap? You're not being asked if you did it. You're being asked to choose how you did it. And the moment you choose, you've confessed. Magnifying glass tilted left the reality. This is everywhere. Do you want the red one or the blue one? Assumes you're buying. Should we meet Tuesday or Wednesday? Assumes you're meeting. In interrogations, it's devastatingly effective because it creates the illusion of control. You feel like you're making a choice, but the choice itself is the confession. One detective asked a suspect, "Did you hit her once, or more than once?" The suspect answered, "Just once." Conviction. Warning, the warning signs. Questions that offer two options, both of which incriminate you. Did you do X or Y? When you did neither. Shield the defense. Reject both options. Neither. That's not what happened. Don't get trapped in the false binary. The real answer is almost always option 3. The one they didn't offer you. Pushpin the concept. The interrogator tells you a story. It's a story about why you did what you did. It's sympathetic. It's understandable. Paints you as a victim of circumstances, not a villain. You were under pressure. You were trying to provide for your family. Anyone in your position would have done the same thing. This is theme development. The interrogator is writing a narrative that makes confession feel like relief rather than defeat. Because once you accept the theme, you've accepted the guilt. Magnifying glass tilted left the reality. Humans are storytelling creatures. We need narratives to make sense of our actions. Interrogators exploit this. They offer you a better story than the one you're telling yourself. A story where you're not evil, just unlucky. Not criminal, just desperate. And that story, it feels so much better than the silence, the accusations, the judgment. So you accept it. In one case, a mother was interrogated about harming her child. The detective told her a story about postpartum depression, exhaustion, and a moment of darkness that any mother could experience. She confessed to the story, not because it was true, because it felt true. Warning, the warning signs. Someone telling your story better than you can tell it. Narratives that make your guilt seem understandable or forgivable. You didn't mean to. You were just trying to. Shield the defense. Reject their narrative. You don't need their story to explain your actions. If you didn't do something, no amount of sympathetic framing changes that. Don't accept a prettier version of a lie. Pushpin the concept. Help me, and I'll help you. Cooperate now, and things will go easier for you later. Give me something, and I'll make this problem go away. This is the quid pro quo. The promise of reward in exchange for compliance. It works because humans are transactional. We want deals. We want fairness. But here's the truth. In interrogation settings, the interrogator can't actually deliver what they're promising. They're not the judge. They're not the prosecutor. They're just the person asking the questions. And their promises, they're vapor. Magnifying glass tilted left the reality. This happens in every manipulation scenario. If you loan me the money, I'll pay you back double. If you cover for me this time, I'll owe you forever. In interrogations, suspects are told that confessing will result in leniency. reduced charges, a recommendation for probation. But those promises aren't binding, and they rarely materialize. One study found that suspects who confessed under promises of leniency received harsher sentences on average than those who remained silent. The deal was a lie. Warning, the warning signs. Promises contingent on your immediate action. If you do X, I'll do Y. No written agreement. No witnesses. Just verbal assurances. Shield the defense. Get it in writing. If someone's offering you a deal, it should be documented, verifiable, and legally binding. If they can't or won't put it in writing, it's not a real deal. Walk away. Pushpin the concept. The interrogator places evidence in front of you. Photos, documents, objects. They don't say anything. They just let you look. This is visual confrontation, and it's designed to trigger guilt, shame, or panic. Seeing the evidence, or even fake evidence, makes the crime real in a way that words never can. And that psychological weight, it breaks people. Magnifying glass tilted left the reality. In one famous case, a suspect was shown photos of a crime scene. The photos were real, but the suspect wasn't involved. Still, seeing the images, the victim, the violence, created such intense emotional distress that the suspect confessed just to end the psychological torment. Outside interrogations, this shows up as staged confrontations. Someone showing you proof of betrayal. Screenshots. Recordings. Real or fake, the visual impact is overwhelming. Warning, the warning signs. Evidence presented dramatically. Silence while you process what you're seeing. Watching your reaction more than showing you the material. Shield the defense. Separate emotion from analysis. Yes, seeing evidence is intense. But take a breath. Ask questions. Where did this come from? How do I know this is authentic? What exactly is this supposed to prove? Don't let the visual impact bypass your critical thinking. Pushpin the concept. Do the right thing. The victim's family deserves the truth. You need to clear your conscience. This is the moral imperative. The interrogator appeals to your ethics, your values, your sense of right and wrong. They're not asking for a confession. They're asking for your integrity. And that framing, it's almost impossible to resist, because refusing suddenly makes you look immoral. Magnifying glass tilted left the reality. Religious suspects are often told, God knows the truth. Empathetic suspects are told, the victim deserves closure. One detective told a suspect, your children need to know their father did the right thing. The suspect confessed. For his children. Not because he was guilty. Because staying silent felt like failing a moral test. That's the power of the moral imperative. Warning, the warning signs. Appeals to your character. A good person would. The right thing to do is. Pressure disguised as principle. Shield the defense. Your morality is not determined by compliance. Doing the right thing might mean staying silent. It might mean protecting yourself. Don't let someone else define your ethics for you. You know what's right. Trust yourself. Pushpin the concept. Interrogations last hours. Sometimes days. Food is scarce. Water is limited. Bathroom breaks are delayed. This is the fatigue factor. Physical exhaustion destroys mental resistance. When you're tired, hungry, and uncomfortable, your brain prioritizes immediate relief over long-term consequences. Confessing becomes the path to ending the pain. Magnifying glass tilted left the reality. Sleep deprivation is a weapon. Studies show that after 24 hours without sleep, cognitive function drops to near impairment levels. Decisions made under fatigue are fundamentally unreliable. One case involved a suspect interrogated for 18 hours straight. He confessed. DNA later exonerated him. He didn't confess because he was guilty. He confessed because he was broken. Warning, the warning signs. Conversations that go on for hours. Being denied basic needs. Pressure to decide before you rest. Shield the defense. Prioritize your physical state. If you're exhausted, say so. Demand rest. No legitimate decision needs to happen while you're incapacitated. Sleep on it. Eat first. Then talk. Your body is part of your defense system. Don't ignore it. pushpin the concept. The interrogator never says, confess or else. But the threat is there. Things could get much worse for you. Other people are talking. You don't want to be the last one. I can't protect you if you don't help me. This is the implicit threat. The consequence is never stated directly, but the fear is very real. Magnifying glass tilted left the reality. Fear is the oldest control mechanism. And implied threats are more powerful than explicit ones because your imagination fills in the blanks. What could happen feels worse than what will happen. One suspect was told, I've seen how this goes for people who don't cooperate. That's all. No specifics. Just dread. He confessed within the hour. Warning, the warning signs. Vague warnings. References to consequences without defining them. Language designed to make you afraid without committing to specific threats. Shield the defense. Demand clarity. What exactly are you saying will happen? Implicit threats rely on ambiguity. The moment you force someone to be specific, the threat loses its power. Because most of the time, there is no actual threat, just fear. And fear only works if you accept it. So, 17 tactics. One purpose. To break your will without laying a hand on you. Let's be clear. These techniques weren't designed by monsters. They were designed by professionals trying to solve crimes, protect communities, and find justice. But like any tool, they can be used or misused by anyone who understands them. And now, you understand them. You know the spatial trap, the presumption of guilt, the illusion of evidence, the silence weapon, all of it. Here's what I want you to remember. These tactics work because they target universal human vulnerabilities. The need for connection, the fear of consequences, the discomfort with silence, the desire to be understood. None of that makes you weak. It makes you human. But awareness makes you powerful. You can't be broken by a tactic you can recognize. You can't be manipulated by a strategy you understand. Every single one of these 17 mind games relies on the same core principle, keeping you unaware of what's happening. The moment you see the game, you're no longer a player. You're a spectator, and spectators don't lose. If you're watching this video, you're already different from most people. Most people walk through life completely unaware of the invisible systems operating around them. They believe everyone is sincere. Every question is innocent. Every conversation is what it appears to be. You know better now. Does that make the world darker? Maybe. But it also makes you safer. Because the predators, the manipulators, the interrogators, the people who would weaponize your own mind against you, they rely on your ignorance. Take that away, they have nothing. One last thing. Don't use this knowledge to hurt people. Don't become the thing you're protecting yourself from. These tactics are defense mechanisms. Learn them, recognize them, neutralize them, but don't deploy them. The moment you start playing these games, you've lost something more important than any conversation. You've lost yourself. If this video gave you the tools to protect your mind, share it with someone who needs it. If you want to go deeper into the psychology of manipulation, control, and dark persuasion, subscribe. We're just getting started. And remember, the strongest mind isn't the one that controls others. It's the one that can't be controlled. Stay sharp.